Aftergrads. My name is Victoria, a recent graduate from Austin College, where I double majored in international economics and finance and East Asian studies concentrated in Mandarin Chinese, and now I'm doing personal research and a venture into the fashion industry.
Hey Aftergrads, and I'm Robert, aka Classy Kane, photographer, marketer, and recent graduate of Claremont McKenna College, and super excited to be here for our fourth episode.
First one of the year.
First one of the year. Yeah.
We made it.
We did, and we've been out of undergrad for a little bit now, 6 or 7 months, and
fresh,
newly bred,
and
we have things to say because someone lied.
There was a couple lies.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of people who contributed to the lies.
Right.
I think it started from when we were itty bitty up until now, and we're so brainwashed, and now we're here.
And now we're here, learning new things about this period of our lives that don't match up to what we were told, to what we were navigating when we were in undergrad. Lots of expectations that are matching up to the realities that we're facing during this period.
Exactly. So for those of you who are currently in college right now, I hope you're taking this in, because you might think, if you were like me, you might think, oh, I got it. Like, I got things lined up and I got things prepared. But there are things that you cannot prepare for. And that's when we have that older generation, 25 and up, who are looking down at us like,
you just gotta suck it up. You just gotta suck it up.
This is life.
This is life. You gotta be prepared for it. You gotta see the uncertain outcomes occur. But no, it's not always like that.
It's not. I mean, everyone thought, let me talk for myself, 21 was it. 21 was the age to be.
We're so excited. You were fresh. You can drink now if that's what you want to do. To an extent,
it was
your
dope.
Junior year.
You know, junior, senior year, so you're still undergirded by the institution, and then now you can drink, or you can do some things that you couldn't before.
It's just an exciting period of your life.
Yeah, you really think so, and
it doesn't hit that way always.
Now I know so that it's not like that.
Because at that point you're still fresh in the mind of undergrad to the point where you can't see past graduating. You still have one more year left to pursue
but what about
whatever
22, 23, 24? That's all mysterious. Nobody talks about those years.
No one says those things. And for whatever reason, everyone seems to be painting this romanticized version of it. And then you get in it, and it's just like, it isn't as happy as people are making it out to be. It has its ups and its downs, but why aren't people talking about the downs more?
Exactly.
But people are starting to talk about the downs a little bit more, as we've been doing in our research. We've just been seeing a lot of videos. We've been watching a lot of aftergrads who are coming out now talking about this period of their life not matching up to what they expected. People are quitting their jobs. People aren't happy in corporate. And these are all expectations that we set for ourselves.
And I think 2020 alone, the pandemic has added to that new crowd, that new voice of people speaking out about this moment. I think it's just been emphasized now because of the pandemic.
Yeah,
honestly, I think it was always there. I know it was always there, but now people are talking about it because they also feel like they can take liberty and move into a different career field.
Yeah.
I was watching this interview of this economist, and he was telling, I think the reference he said, or like the word he used, was this is the time of
the Great Resignation.
The Great Resignation.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it was, where a lot of people are resigning and changing career paths and just going for it.
Because people had time to sit with themselves at home. I, for one, definitely had a lot of time to think when I was finishing my degree back at university, thinking, what did I want to do? The power of thought, the power of time as well, to just be like, okay, you know what, this is what I actually want to pursue, or maybe no, this is not what I want to do, but nonetheless you have the time to sit with yourself and think about, is this job really serving me? Is this degree really serving me?
And then for those who didn't even really have the privilege to sit and think within their thoughts, them actively still having to put the pedal to the metal amongst illness made them realize, this is not what life should be. This is not what life
shouldn't feel like that.
Should feel like, exactly. So there was a lot of realizations across all spectrums, across all levels of living. And so now we're here.
We're here.
New year, right?
New year.
So let's get into it. Yeah, we got a little warm up going on. Yeah, I have a challenge. This is, as I said in the last episode, I always felt like there was a theme to the beginning of the year. That's why I was extremely vigilant in the month of January, because it slaps me in the face every year. Last year it was trying new things, and then I continued that, and I learned a lot about myself, as I mentioned. And now this year I was trying to figure it out. What's the theme? What's the theme? I don't really do goals. Do you do goals?
I do goals, just not New Year's resolutions. I mean, they're kind of one and the same, but I don't know, the science around New Year's resolutions is, it seems like you make them, it jinxes it goes, it comes and it goes, and then you're not serious about it.
Exactly.
And I feel as though my life is pretty consistent throughout, so it's just themes and goals, which we're about to get into now.
Yeah. So my theme, I just wanted us to take the time to write it down. I feel like mine is just do it and dare to fail. Mm-hmm. These last couple of weeks, there's been a couple of things that have really made me overthink and kind of freak out and get in my own head, and so it almost even deteriorated me from doing the things that I believe could be best for me. And so I just need to do things.
Right.
I keep thinking about, all right, if it happens like this, and how will I manage this? If this happens, what will do it? Let me stop, because I'm already starting to think like that.
But just do it. Just
right,
go
I don't even want
it.
to practice that motion anymore.
Yeah.
I just want to just dare to fail, because then if I try it, and if it does fail, well, guess what? I can be renewed for a new idea,
right.
A new project, and that only directs me and adds to me in terms of what I need to do next.
Totally.
So I have to get through some of the bad to get to the good, and I have to be okay with that. And I was always not okay with that. I always wanted to get right to the good. So that's my theme right now. And then I guess tiny goals, things I want to revamp.
Right.
They've always been there, but I need to put a little bit more effort towards them. For me, it's more reading.
Yeah.
I have a stack of books in my room, and I need to get to them, and I want to complete them. My sleep schedule, it's been really off. With the pandemic, coming out of school, I really lost. I don't play with my sleep.
Likewise, it's not a game at all. I need 8 hours, sometimes 9, 10 plus. I really need my sleep to function.
Yep. And you put me on melatonin.
Yes.
I was on it for a bit. I didn't believe in it for reasons, but now I'm back into it.
I'm so happy for you, because I know what it did for my life when I first learned about it, and I love my sleep, and I feel as though I was sleeping on melatonin.
Paranoid. I feel like if you do too much of something bad will happen.
That's true. Yeah, I think that's fair, but for me, I don't care. I'm gonna take
at this rate, it's working. So to get me back on track, I'm using that, and then also more writing. I want to get into writing again through my website, through my blogs, and yada yada. So.
Before transitioning to me, though, we had a conversation where it goes back to you daring to fail, how you mentioned some quote about the quicker you fail, the quicker you can learn from your mistakes. And I wanted to harp on that because that was super important and insightful for me.
Of course, so there was this artist, and he was saying, if I didn't put my work out there and I didn't get over those bad works of art, or through the good as well, I couldn't get my mind to think on what's next, and to bring in the new idea that could possibly work or not. And so there's that artist who said that, and then there was I forgot, he was director of some invention facility for Google, and they had a record-breaking number for the amount of inventions that came out to be very successful and needed and a necessity in today's world, or in today's society. And they asked him, how do you get to all these great ideas so quickly? You have a team, yes, but for these to even succeed. And he said, you know what? Honestly, we have to get through the failures really quick. It's about how fast we turn over the bad, or turn over help me out.
Mistakes.
The mistakes, thank you. It's how bad we turn over
the mistakes
so that we can make that positive trend in due time, because it's really just a circle. It's a circle of constant thought, of idea, of creativity, and then it will create a positive trend over time. And so that I'm just taking it. I need to fail quicker. I either need to fail quicker, not succeed quicker, but just experiment. I need to experiment. I need to experience
so you can see what works.
Yeah, and that's in academics, that's in career, that's with people as well. Sometimes you might think that someone's not good for you, and you try to overthink it, and this person could actually be a great person in your life, or a bad person in your life, but just do it. Just try it real quick, and you'll know. Just trust your instinct, and when you follow that, you'll get through that stuff, and then you'll get to the positive stuff. So that's, I tried to sum it up.
That's perfect. I just wanted to talk about that before I got into mine. So my big theme for 2022 is, in a nutshell, be prepared. I think in society, there's this mentality that circulates within a lot of people where we don't want to accept an opportunity, or we don't want to pursue a specific career or whatever that thing is until we feel ultimately ready, until we feel as though we've mastered a specific skill, or we've read a certain amount of articles to feel knowledgeable about something. We'll hold ourselves back from accepting something or saying yes to an opportunity that could elevate us nonetheless. So for me, with that being said, it's about being prepared, so that when those opportunities do come around, I'm ready to say yes. There's always something new to learn, yes, but nonetheless, doing side things behind the scenes so that when that opportunity presents itself,
that's the experimenting.
That's the experimenting.
That go kind of hand in
hand, right?
Yeah.
Yours was dare to fail, mine is be prepared. So maybe yours is more of the action, and mine is more of the behind the scenes work to be ready for that daring to fail moment.
Yeah. It could be the blogging situation. You know how I was telling you about that. Like there was a moment where I felt like it wouldn't work, or it would be too much time consuming away from another project that I was simultaneously doing, and so instead of just sitting and believing that it could possibly be too much, just try it and see if it works, and if it doesn't, then move forward. But all of those actions are actively preparing me for what I want to. So yeah. I can relate to what you're saying. Of course,
they go hand in hand with one another. And in terms of, I guess, actions that I want to take to reach those, it's just about increasing my knowledge set. So going back to the reading, I think you mentioned that, and some of your goals. I'm actually just started a new book on astrology. I'm really into the zodiac astrology, and so I'm just beefing up my knowledge there. Not something that I'm trying to pursue professionally, just an interest of mine. I think it tells an interesting tale about an individual, and I want to know more about my universal astrology. So just reading more about photographers. I recently watched a documentary on Yves Saint Laurent. Me being interested in fashion, you can understand why that's something that I'd want to learn about. So on the back end, just
can we talk about
reading.
that? The fact that you're going into something, into something that people might be watching and say, I don't have time to read, I don't feel like doing that, it's not really something that's fun to me. How you're starting with astrology out of all things, despite the fact that you are actually into fashion and photography.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. I think somewhere in this book, actually, in the astrology book that I'm reading right now, it says that you have to feed other sides of yourself in order to complement the whole of yourself, something along those lines. Astrology is not something that I'm in professionally, but in terms of giving me the motivation and the insight to continue with the other things, other avenues that I want to pursue professionally, I want to feed other hobbies that are outside of those interests, and astrology is one of those for me, and I feel so enlivened because of it. It's super interesting when you get into it, because it.
And you mentioned rest. You mentioned rest being one of the things that you want to work on. That's a form of rest to me. Rest from what you feel like you need to be thinking about all the time, your dream, the things that help your dream, and the supplements that will encourage that dream. And then taking a step away and going into astrology, not just physically resting, but also mentally resting.
Yeah, I think that's a form of mental rest, 100%. And that's the way that my body is responding to it, because it's just a moment at the end of the night when I'm trying to figure out what to do. Should I watch a movie? Should I be on social media? I'm going to take a moment to read a book.
Social media content isn't it for me anymore. It never was.
Going back to the expectations and to the comparisons that we've discussed before, but specifically for today, the expectations, you'll see people's lives, or you'll see different actions or different events taking place, and you'll want to put yourself into that scenario, or you might tell yourself, I should be doing that too, based on societal expectations. So removing yourself from that is one of the ways that I am trying to be prepared. And then lastly, putting myself out there, which I think goes to what you were talking about.
Just daring to fail. Daring to fail, yeah.
Going for it, and so you can see those return on the failures into successes more quickly.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems like we mainly have concepts and then a couple of things that we want to improve.
Right.
Not goals.
And I'm proud of us, because we're already seeing, at least for me, speaking personally, I'm already seeing some of the turnover. Period. Yeah. Okay, speak for it. All right, but in terms of the expectations, that's what we really wanted to talk about today, in terms of what it's like being an Aftergrad.
Expectations versus reality. This is an episode I've been so excited to record. Simply because there's a lot. We might need a part 2.
I think so. There's so much to discuss.
There's a lot. I don't even know necessarily where to begin, but except after crossing that stage.
Yeah.
What I expected. What did you expect when you first walked?
Success in the most generic sense of the term. A job that I was happy with. Fulbright, quite frankly. I expected to be on my flight to Europe. Let's talk it out.
Let's talk it out. How did you see 2021?
How did I see 2021? I saw 2021 with me on an economy class flight to Europe, paid for by Fulbright, with accommodation also paid for by Fulbright, living and doing my master's degree in visual and digital media at this university in Madrid, Spain. That's genuinely what I saw for myself, and there was no imagination outside of that for me. That expectation was entirely busted by life, by reality, and so that's the most immediate Aftergrad expectation that wasn't met for myself. And initially it was a tough pill to swallow, but as we mentioned in the last episode, in terms of what we learned from 2021, there's beauty in missed opportunities, or there's beauty in denied opportunities.
Yeah.
So
exactly
that's the first expectation.
That I have to agree was a very similar vision I had for myself. So I'm going to back it up to even before I even knew about Fulbright and what it meant and what it stood for. I'm going to go back to freshman year, entering college, what I thought I would be into by the time I graduated school, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought I would have a job working finance or traveling somewhere to work on finance or trade. I thought I would be into fashion. The humbleness I wanted to say was like I had an entry-level job into Vogue. That was honestly my first little dream that I had when I went into college, and I thought it could be attainable to get an entry-level job that respected me and I respected it.
Right.
And then of course leading up to college, things change, you learn new things, you grow, and your goals shift, right? And so that's when I came across Fulbright, and I just really thought this was something meant for me and that could add to what I want to do in the future. And it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. It didn't happen. It teased me. It said, "Hey, you're a semi-finalist."
Right, saying it did tease us.
Like,
you're right there.
You're right there.
You're so
you
close.
You could go to Taiwan. Right. So I was, and during that waiting period, anytime through the finals week, through exams, I was just like, "Oh, okay, I can do this. I can do this." Wait for Fulbright. Wait to leave the country, and so forth, to study exactly what I want. Finally, a space where I can exercise all facets of myself. I can work on my fashion. I can work on branding. I can work on finance, all in the midst of a country that spoke the language that I want to be completely fluent in. And that I was sold on that. I have to, And then for friends as well, I had visions for them. Not visions for them, but like, I believed in their visions as well, like as they were speaking to me, grad school or, getting past the MCAT and stuff like that. I wanted that for them so bad, but some realities hit for them as well. And so the fact that we're still here supporting each other through it all and still out here succeeding is beautiful. Yeah. But like for those, what inspires me to continue to come on this podcast and to push it out is because I do want to give people the thought just to cross your mind and just to be open a little bit to what if it fails? What if that vision you have for yourself doesn't happen?
Right.
What's next? Like how do you think you could move? How do you think you can handle mentally, physically, emotionally, right? And kind of get comfortable with that idea, because it can happen. And if it doesn't even happen now, if you plan it out so well, because there was those people in college that I saw where they had everything lined up, but they were hustling.
They were.
Mad props to them.
As well.
We were one of them.
We were one of them.
But they had it. It was like solidified type thing,
gotcha.
right? So they transitioned well, right? It might not even be right now. You might be chilling, but can you imagine the idea that maybe one day you wake up and you don't like where you're at?
Right.
That's a scary thought.
And it's not discussed either.
And a lot of people deny it as well. I was one of them who denied the thought, because I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't hear people say, oh, I graduated college and then I had a, shift in ideas and things that I wanted to do, so I was kind of lost for a minute. When those people came in, I was like, no, never me.
Right.
Never me. I know exactly what I want. So
I didn't see that. I didn't see beyond that, because I was so clear in my story, as I've said before.
Right, and I was like, all I need is this degree. Not that I knew it wasn't going to only need the degree, but I was just like, I have the degree. That's one step, check.
I think it's so important for us, and why we're talking about this now, in terms of needing the degree and having that insight in your head as to that being not the golden ticket, but that, like you were saying, the next step. So many people don't talk about how you can attain that next step. And then
with or without it.
With or without it.
But
But then it falling through.
Right.
Like what does that look like when you did these steps? You saw this positive
statistics. There's a lot of people out here with that piece of paper now.
With the piece of paper who are still floundering.
And for those of you who don't have the piece of paper, I hope you're looking at this and realizing as well your worth, because we're two graduated people who are saying that we don't know what's next either.
Right.
There could be the person that doesn't feel like they are good enough because they don't have the degree. We are here to tell you, we are right here with you.
We're at the same point in life.
Exactly. It's literally about how we move forward.
We just have things that interest us.
Yeah.
And we just follow them through the uncertain expectations while navigating this period.
We are not all that in a bag of chips.
Another expectation that I can get into beyond the aftergrad situation, well, it is relevant to aftergrad, but beyond getting the degree, while I was in undergrad, I thought that I think you mentioned it too when you were talking about some of your expectations, the corporate 9-to-5. I genuinely wanted to be in the corporate 9-to-5 space so that I could grow, so that I could engage with my coworkers, so that I could experience the item that I was supposed to receive after getting the degree. And honestly, I haven't been in the corporate 9-to-5 world for all too long. I was in it for a brief period, enjoyed aspects of it, hated other aspects of it, but the pieces that I hated, I didn't expect to see those there. I didn't expect to hate it as intensely as I did. And so that was a giant expectation. Another one that was busted that was being fed to me.
Can you dive into just lightly into those a little bit?
Yeah, in terms of the expectations or
some of the things that, like, as you got the 9-to-5 that you envisioned for yourself, what were some of the aspects that made you realize it's not all of you, or it's not really something you wanted to continue?
Yeah, so it's not, because I definitely don't want to talk bad about my other coworkers because I love this space, but in terms of the
things
environment,
that made you feel that's separate from the person or from the corporation.
Definitely. Your personal time, it's a 9-to-5, you're there 40 hours a week.
Right.
For me, my time is valuable. I have a lot of things that I want to be doing, and I felt as though me working with the people that I was working with and for the company, a lot of my creative energy was being spent going towards projects, going towards assignments that were serving this company but not serving my purpose that I felt within myself. That's one of the expectations. I thought that if let me speak personally, get a media studies degree with a dual major in applied mathematics, and then you pursue and make yourself marketable for a career in photography and marketing, and then land a marketing internship, that by virtue of doing those marketing assignments, you're also going to be feeling fulfilled because they're in your industry, they're in your line of work.
Right.
But then I get there, and it didn't feel that way. I liked some of what I was doing. I liked a lot of what I was doing. I learned so much about multicultural markets when I was working at this internship, and I'm going to transfer a lot of that to my practice, to my photographic practice for sure. But nonetheless, I have to be honest with the way that I was feeling, and for me, a lot of it felt like wasted time in certain instances. That was a big one, and that was a hard pill to swallow because, again, that's the moment that I was in some sense preparing for. When I received an offer letter for a full-time return after working with this internship for a few months, I thought I should have felt excited, but I had all these other emotions that led me to not want to accept this position. And I felt as though, not that I failed, but I just had a lot of questions that needed answering, and I didn't know where to go to get those answers.
Yeah.
And that's really what I think we're here speaking about today, because I know that we're not alone sitting here having these reflections, these moments.
Even if not the 9-to-5, there's also the person, and I think I was this person, who felt like they needed to get their next degree. I saw myself going, I felt like I needed to get my master's as soon as possible. And then I also had a lot of encouraging people around me who were like, okay, if you don't get it within the next 3 or 4 years, you're going to lose steam to even get it in the first place. And so there was that societal pressure as well. It was like, if not the 9-to-5, then I need to go into back into school. And over the course of the months here, I've learned that it's better to sit with yourself and to find that program for you. And I'll go on that spew later, talking about right now in terms of what I envisioned. Also, I'll have to admit, I knew 9-to-5 was not for me.
Yeah.
I think I realized that junior year.
Yeah.
Junior year, I was like, okay, I really don't want to hop into a 9-to-5. And so that's why getting my master's was like my next step. I was like, I could avoid the workforce without, so let me go back into school.
Agreed. Wait, and if I could, in terms of the 9-to-5, I did not think that the 9-to-5 was always for me, but I felt as though it would have been a comfortable next step. Like, I get the degree, 9-to-5, I'll stick here for a little bit, but then I'm off to do my own work.
But I didn't find it comfortable enough to look into it. So I have to admit, I did not really that's why I didn't line up a lot of things coming out of college, because a lot of people were like, you have this degree, but like you didn't have anything lined up. No, because I really knew I couldn't thrive. I couldn't be myself in a 9-to-5, to be honest. So that's why Fulbright, again, why all my money was betted on Fulbright and getting out of this country. I knew the things I did know. I wanted to be out of the country. And I wanted to be learning another language. And then also, if I could be getting my master's some way, shape, or form, that would be beautiful. And that's why Fulbright spoke to me so heavily, right? Even after applying to Fulbright, betting on it, knowing that was a vision I had for myself, and then coming out of school, then getting the results that I did not get accepted by Fulbright, I still was trying to pursue that vision of, okay, I need to get my master's, need to get it. So I moved up here, and I was thinking the plan I had in store was I would get an internship, and I would at least sit in something similar or close to the sector I wanted to work. And then in the meantime, I would be going hard on my GMAT or my GRE, and apply to that, and then go back into school. Yeah. I was still sold on this thought that if I get back into school, I can come out and work my way up to the top. No. First of all, tired. When you come out of school, let's start hitting these realities.
Right, the realities.
Let's hit these realities. You're tired.
Yeah, nervous.
You're tired, you're nervous. You have hope, but then I don't know, for me, I expected, there was a lot of people who came in my life and they were like, hey, hit me up, I can help you get here. And a lot of them fell through.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Even like the connections, like you're like, okay, I networked, right? You just have to get comfortable with the idea that not everything's going to come through for you. And you got to come through for yourself.
Yeah. That's
what I'm really trying to get across here is, yes, I came across beautiful people, great people, but they have lives too, and they have other obligations. And so me just selling myself on this idea that this person will get me into this door, or this will help me get here, get rid of it. Yeah. Like, honestly, toss it out, because these people, these connections, these jobs, they have other obligations other than you. And if you want someone to take you seriously or like focus on you, you got to focus on yourself.
You got to focus on yourself.
You got to focus on yourself. And that makes you sellable. Then when you know yourself in and out, like you said,
because then you're bringing something to the organization. You're bringing something to the table, to the conversation.
Right. So like you said, like just doing that background work.
Yeah.
Honestly, and that's the background work. You might be thinking, well, that's my degree, honey boo boo. Let me break it down. Hello.
Yeah.
This is the reality. You got to do. There's more work to be done. That's what I'm trying to get across on this podcast. There's so much more work to be done.
The degree is the bare minimum.
It's the bare minimum.
It's the bare minimum, but it's also not. It's a tool.
It's a tool in your toolbox.
Yeah.
And thus.
And sometimes it won't even work for you, because sometimes we have that argument where we talk about the degree. Once you get it, it'll work for you. In certain instances, but not necessarily. It won't entirely work for you. You still got to do the work to make sure that degree is seen, to make sure that you, the person who owns the degree, is ready, is marketable, is hireable. Bills that you have that impedes on your aftergrad moment from being like a positive thing, because sometimes you don't see it coming, but nonetheless it's still something that you have to account for. And what do you do when you're an undergrad? You might be working a lot, you might be sending money elsewhere. You never know what your financial situation will be like, both in undergrad sometimes, but then also what is it going to look like after you graduate. And if you're not thinking about saving, goodness, you can't provide for the aftergrad moment, and that's so important to be able to do. That
hustle moment can be extended if you're not really smart about how you save, and so then it just takes away from this beautiful picture that, I'm supposed to be, this is the moment of partying, this is the moment of enjoyment and fulfillment, right? Because when I was younger, I really thought, and especially in the music videos, Beyonce, I'm not dissing at all, sis. I bow down to you. But I would watch her videos and her pop it off at 21, 22, 23. And I'm like, now that's 20.
That's how I should be doing it.
That's where I'm trying to be. And just adding to the fact that there's society elements, including media, that portrays this beautiful moment in the 20s.
As exciting, as fun, as hip, as just being all out here doing whatever you want to do with your life. And it seems so flawless, it seems so easy, but it's not always the case a lot of times, because things don't work out as we've established. And what do you do when those things don't work out in the way that you envisioned? Or you internally have a desire that exists outside of the conventional routes that society has forced you or motivated you to make.
Family as well. I think they glamorized it for me. I would, for the cousins who were older, or for the people around me who were older and they were going out and then coming back home for holidays, I'd be like, what are y'all up to? How are you enjoying it? And it wasn't even just family, it was just people in general who were in that 20 stage. And like, I just got a job at, this company and I'm working for them. I'm like, oh my God, that sounds like so
right, because it's a big
fun.
name. I know that was something that I aspired towards. I would hear a big name job and I'm like, oh, I want that on my resume. I want to be there.
And then they would talk about it and the things that they would do.
It seemed exciting.
It seemed very exciting, but sometimes I wonder if there was moments which they weren't so excited about, but they just didn't feel like sharing. We need to start sharing this.
Right.
If you're older, please start sharing.
Tell us about the
platform.
good, bad, and ugly experiences that you're having in this corporate lifestyle and these big name jobs that you have that we love to tout. I mean, everyone wants to have a nice big check, a nice big job a lot of times, but tell us about the bad experiences too. Tell us about what you don't like as well as what you do like.
Because if I was aware of those bad experiences, not that I would feel like, oh, I can't do it. I would just think about it a lot differently.
It's fair to me. It's more fair to me being the person working for the degree
to decipher like what is actually meant for me.
Right.
Because then I could listen. I'd be like, oh, okay, but that's not something I really see for myself. So maybe I can maneuver and study this.
Totally.
It can even come down to like what you study, like somebody's opinion of something, and them putting out all the good and not really telling all the in between and what read betweens the line.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very glamorized. The 20, 21, 22, 23, people talk about 21, but nobody talks about those following numbers. And now I'm starting to understand why. Because it's weird. It's awkward.
It's awkward. It doesn't match up with what was told.
No. No. And you can choose to be the partier and, live out those music videos.
Right.
But I mean, as long as you're smart, are you being smart about it, right? So,
but there's multiple realities that people are living out, and if only one is being shared, and oftentimes for the Aftergrad situation, that there's been one narrative a lot of times that has been shared, been promoted for us to pursue, and a lot of people, not just us, so many other people that we're coming to find out are feeling the exact same way. So we're not crazy, we are not alone, and it just needs to be spoken about much more, so that people who are in undergrad working tirelessly, preparing, pulling up to workshops, pulling up to conferences, trying to share their creativity, share their work that they've been doing for their classwork, for things that are outside of their curriculum in undergrad, they know what they're getting into after they walk across the stage. Yeah. Because I really don't think I knew entirely what I was getting into.
Right, and it was definitely a reset button. And I think that reset button now has initiated new thoughts and ideas for this moment. And I think our goals for ourselves this new coming year is a reflection of what this reality really is. Right. It's true beauty.
Right.
Not its glamorized beauty.
Yeah, I think it's authentic. It's real.
Right, we coming to you with the realness.
Yeah.
This moment, let's go back to those subset categories that we want to focus on to attribute to the overarching kind of theme of our year. They align with what the true beauty of this moment is. So the first one is daring to fail. Daring to fail and experiment. This is definitely a moment where we can have a time to just try something else, something that we have already started. Just keep it going. Keep that learning process up. That's what we paid for at an institution. We paid for someone to be on us about the things we were passionate about or the things we thought we were passionate about at the time, right? It's the same thing, except now you don't have to get in debt doing it.
Right.
But you do have to keep yourself accountable for it. Is pushing yourself through that uncomfortable feeling of reading, of writing, of just pulling those things that you like out of you. That whole uncomfortable process you were paying someone else to do, now you have to do it yourself. And for me, I just want to do it quicker and not think about how it can worsen or better me. And that's not just with things that I do, but that's also with people that I encounter. Just not trying to think through how it benefits me and just try it, because the faster I can get through it, the quicker I can get to figuring out who the heck am I.
Right.
Right. So that was that's one thing I feel like is a true reality of this moment.
Right. And then also being prepared, right? You have to, if I were prepared for the uncertain outcome in terms of walking across the stage, not having the scholarships that I wanted, how much better I would have been able to take the situation emotionally, how much better I would have been able to adjust. And I'm naturally a pretty adaptable person, but nonetheless, just being intentional about how you're preparing so that when you're ready or when you're given opportunities, you're ready to accept them and receive them.
Yeah.
That's...
Oh, but as you're waiting to accept and receive them, be okay with what you have right now.
Yeah.
That goes into the other subset, which is I'm having to learn to do more with less.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to have this, or I need to have that, or I need to do this in order to do that, right? But being okay with what you own right now, and sometimes this is not me, but this is people who I have seen, they make themselves look like they have it all right now, and which adds to the glamorized look and lies to the people who are in college.
And it's not
I just want to say it's
you're
not
beneficial. You're like, oh my god, it looks so good.
You're that is terrible. I mean, you may be able to afford it, but it's making me feel like that I have to have a car by now. I have to have a house by now, right? Maybe that was your goal. That's personal. Props to you. But for me, what someone saw for themselves, I may not have. I may not have the privilege of having yet, or I may not want it right now. That's kind of me. I just don't want it right now. And being okay with what I do own right now. I may own only a comforter. Right. But that's okay.
That's right. That's right, because you know what you want. You know where you want to be eventually. Assets not long.
That keeps me warm.
Right.
So, be comfortable with what you have. Work with what you have.
Even if it's just a comforter.
Exactly. But no, not to be funny anymore. Like, it can be a laptop for you to put out those videos that you envision yourself doing or putting out onto YouTube for your creative outlet. It can be going out and taking photos. We are so lucky to be in this decade and time to utilize the things that we have around us that are kind of easy to get a hold of.
Easy access to info.
Yeah, we can get a hold of them. And don't worry about what year it was built, what model it is. Just work with what you do have and look in front of you.
Right.
Sometimes your tools are already around you. So I think that's another reality of this moment, is being okay with
having little. Creating and lack,
and making a lot out of that little.
Right. Because when you're able to do that, that's when your creativity is going to skyrocket. When you get into the spaces where you have the resources.
And when you have those resources, it's going to be pow.
Yeah, it's just going to be a different ballgame. But now you have more access to what you have been working for, which goes back to being prepared when you eventually get into those spaces that we said earlier. But last, and certainly not least, we've got to be intentional with our energy moving into 2022 and moving forward throughout, for all Aftergrads, for us, when we're living this out. We have to be intentional. For me, it looks like getting more rest, but then you also mentioned that earlier too about your sleep schedule. You want to get back on track with that.
Exactly.
And then also putting myself out there more. There are things that I see myself doing, and it's still connected to daring to fail, but just being intentional with how I'm leveraging what I've been learning, what I've been doing behind the scenes in order to pitch myself into these positions that I want to see myself in.
That's definitely a reality that we face right now is...
How do you do it? Sorry, but go.
Yeah, coming out, I know as college graduates, we're very intentional where we want to be, but in getting there, like you said, preparing for that moment, are you being intentional with your energy for how you take other people, how you go out, how you exercise fun, how you exercise recharging? Are you being intentional with that? I struggled with that first coming out. I thought I enjoyed partying. I don't even want to say it like that, as if, because I don't want you guys thinking like I go out and party. I'm really a homebody. But I have friends who that's their form of gaining energy and feeling alive, right? And so I would go out with them, but I wouldn't really honestly be having the most fun time. And again, back to, what society does. They portray the 20s as like a party, go hard, type of gal, or
and it can feel like that when you're on a college campus too.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely there as well. But then it's also there right after, and then you see these promoters who literally, that's their job, is to create these little short films to make you feel like you are not living your best life, going to these clubs, going to these parties, right? And I had to sit with myself and say, girl, you are not enjoying yourself. Mm-hmm. In fact, when you come home, you feel less than. You don't feel more. You don't feel time. More. Mm-hmm. And so once I figured out in my time, in the aftergrad moment, what being intentional with my energy looked like, it definitely, unfortunately, looks like less of the partying and more like going on hikes and, you know, running, journaling, or just a good conversation. Yeah. A good conversation with some wine. That is this moment, being intentional with your energy and what actually makes you feel energized, so that you can move forward. Making the moment comfortable, and like we can make this aftergrad moment great. Because you gotta put it to the front. You gotta
make it great.
You gotta put yourself first.
We only live this life once, so we gotta live it hard. We gotta be shameless with it. We gotta be authentic. We gotta be pursuing our goals, and all of these expectations.
Be intentional, sharpen our skills.
Yeah.
That's our reality. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry to bust your bubble if you thought you were gonna come out on top with a degree.
Yeah.
Just a degree. I hate to say it.
Yeah, it's not just the degree.
We got some more work to do.
Yeah.
And you got to decide what kind of work you're wanting to put in. Mm-hmm. And then let's get it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go for
2022, where you at?
We're here. We're ready. Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of the Aftergrad Podcast, a show where we unpack the aftergrad journey. You can also follow us on Instagram at the Aftergrad Podcast.
Also check out our visual version via our YouTube. There we would appreciate any likes, comments, or subscribes.
And with that, this is the Aftergrad Podcast.
Ciao.
Peace.